Hello, I'm Rob Westervelt, Head of Content at S&P Global Commodity Insights Conferences Group. And welcome to APPEC 2025, where we explore Asia's energy nexus. And we're going to turn our attention to bunker markets. And I'm delighted to be joined by Carsten Ladekjær, CEO of Glander International Bunkering. Carsten, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Rob. It's my pleasure.
Let's start with an overview question. What are we seeing in bunker markets right now? Obviously, a lot of turmoil in commodity, energy, bunker markets with tariffs, policy volatility, economic uncertainty. What are you seeing in the market right now?
Right. So, of course, the market is quite unpredictable in some ways, especially some markets are more affected than others by the tariffs. We see in the US it has actually calmed down a bit. So it's a bit unpredictable in terms of tariffs right now. And a lot of ship owners are insecure of what to do, and so are their customers. So a little bit of turmoil going on, but ships keep moving, thank God, and goods has to move. So we still have activity.
Yep. And heading into 2026, do you see more? You getting any clarity or stability, or do you expect conditions to continue through the end of the year and into 2026?
Well, I think once the tariff issue settles down, we'll see a normalization of the situation again. I guess that's what we're all waiting for. But if you look at some of the alternative fuels, maybe how people are trying to mitigate the pricing mechanisms, we have two main products lifted right now in the alternative fuel space: the LNG, which is of course a well-established fuel, and in there most of the quantities are made on contracts. Some of these contracts have an option not to lift even, and that means that it becomes again a little bit unpredictable. But there's also a spot market within LNG, and that spot market is highly unpredictable, and that's because it's very price sensitive. Now that you talk about uncertainties and tariffs, what it is when you have LNG, it's price sensitive comparatively with MGO. So if the MGO price falls below, let's say 18% lower than the LNG, then you see people switching over to marine gas oil, and vice versa if the swing goes the other way. And that makes it hard for suppliers to predict demand. Again, uncertainty. And if you are a physical supplier of LNG, it's a very high entry barrier in terms of cost of going into that market. Your operational cost, your OPEX is very high. So if the demand is very unpredictable, it makes it very difficult. So we've actually seen some suppliers of LNG going into the market and pulling out again just as fast, simply because of this unpredictability. The other main grade of alternative fuels being supplied right now is biofuels. We are seeing an uptick in biofuels. It's a drop-in fuel. It makes you compliant with IMO targets already, and FuelEU Maritime as well. In Glander, we made a FuelEU Maritime calculator so that you can calculate the right blend that you need and the right volume so that you don't overspend as well. In that market, you have also two types of purchasing. You have the contracts where people go in to secure availability, and you have a spot market which is more reactive. And in there you see people maybe taking a more opportunistic approach. If they go in and buy a big load of biofuel, let's say in Rotterdam, they can use that for mass balancing in the rest of the fleet. So in terms of mitigating this volatility, it depends on what kind of operation you have, what kind of product you have. But in the alternative fuel space, this is what we are watching right now.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of attention around alternative fuels, decarbonization efforts. As you noted, it's starting here, but there's still a big gap between mandates, what the IMO expects, and what's commercially viable. And as you look out next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, how do you see that playing out? Does that gap close, or what's needed to close that gap between the mandates and the commercial reality here?
Right. So let's just start off with saying, when we talk about alternative fuels, fossil fuels will remain part of the fuel mix for the foreseeable future, for sure, for several reasons. But so in order for the decarbonization to take off, we need a level playing field. Today you actually do have a voluntary market for decarb, but it's very, very small because very, very few can actually afford to pay more. So we need a level playing field. for that to happen, we need a regulative framework, a legislation in place for everyone. So in April this year, the IMO agreed upon the net zero framework. And that is up for adoption later this year in October at the MEPC meeting coming up. The net zero framework is really the framework that is needed for shipping because it has all the right ingredients. You have a paying for emissions element, and you have a reward for burning zero fuels or near zero fuels. So the mechanisms are there. So, and what it does, it actually paves the way for decarbonizations because it's asking the ships to progressively reduce their greenhouse gas emissions to by 4 to 17%.
Yep.
And within that, you have a penalty if you don't, depending on your compliance ratio, anywhere between $100 up to $380 per CO2 equivalent. So it actually has some bite, you know, so there will be a true incentive. And even if you go below that and burn near zero fuels, which has only 9 grams of CO2, you are eligible for a reward. So there's a reward, there's a carrot and a stick. We hope it will be adopted in October because that is really the prerequisite for decarbonization shipping. Once you get the framework in place, you pave the way for investments as well, for infrastructure, for products, for everything, and for investments in ships as well.
Right, you talked a bit about LNG, biofuels, obviously other things being talked about, electrification, ammonia, and others. I mean, as we stand here, what do you see as most viable? Where are your customers? Where do they seem to be willing to back with investment? And even from an equipment perspective, what are they looking at?
Right. So right now we're seeing biofuel and LNG as the two main products being lifted. But the thing is, come 2030, the IMO reduction targets, they increase to 20 to 30%. That means biofuel and bio-LNG will still be compliant on a well-to-wake basis. The problem is that on biofuels, we probably won't have sufficient sustainable feedstock to feed the market because there will be an uptake in demand from aviation as well and from road transport. So we may not have enough feedstock and enough biofuel. So that's kind of one thing. Then you have the bio-LNG, which is also making you compliant. Now, today, of all the bio-LNG supplied in the world, 84% is utilized for electricity. Another 10% is utilized for road transport. So that leaves only 6% left for other industries, which include maritime. But since we probably won't have enough biofuel and bio-LNG, that paves the way for green methanol and green ammonia. Yeah. If you look at green methanol, it has some advantages. It's easy to handle product. You can use it on existing ship designs. And there is already some infrastructure in place. The challenge with the green methanol is that we need large investments in production. We don't have enough, and we are not yet seeing the investments needed at this point for that to happen. Then you have ammonia, which is also foreseen to be an important part of the fuel mix going forward. Ammonia also has some clear advantages. First of all, it's a zero carbon fuel. It produces no CO2 during combustion. And people also forecast that the economics around ammonia look very attractive compared to other alternative fuels. Now, again, there's challenges with this product. This one, it's toxicity, it's corrosiveness, safety standards, and then we also need more infrastructure. So, and finally, maybe a dark horse in the game could be blue fuels with carbon capture. And then again, you need infrastructure for that. So, but that's the main road we see ahead. So short-term biofuel, bio-LNG and LNG, longer-term green methanol and ammonia.
As you talk to your customers, I mean, what are the timelines here? When do they need to make these decisions as you look at the age of the fleets now and the investments required and what has to be done?
Yeah, well, that's again leading up to what are people doing now. So very large operators, they are kind of hedging their bets. They have the size to place orders for both dual fuel LNG ships, dual fuel methanol ships, and perhaps even ammonia That's a little bit less, but you see already orders made for ammonia ships, for methanol ships and for LNG ships. Biofuel is easy to take already because it's a drop in fuel. It's only a matter of price and availability. So we're seeing that. But for the real transition to take speed as of 2030 onwards, 2035 onwards, we need the legislation, we need the net zero framework to be adopted so that it can pave the way for production of green ammonia and green methanol and potentially also blue fuels.
Great. Well, Carsten, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy.
Welcome, my pleasure. Thank you, Rob.